The landing pad thrummed with energy as the Zanari envoy ship descended, its sleek, obsidian hull gleaming under Earth's sun. Supreme Strategist Thrall gazed out at the human facility below, suppressing a shiver. The stories had not prepared him for this. Thrall had toured the military academies of countless civilizations. He had seen the precision of the Threxian War Guild and the clinical efficiency of the Authari Strategium. Humans, however, were a species of contradictions, a fledgling race that had somehow carved its place into the galactic tapestry through raw tenacity. Now, standing on Earth's soil, he intended to uncover their secrets. The airlock hissed open, releasing the faint, sterile scent of the Zanari vessel. Waiting at the base of the ramp was a small group of humans. At their center stood Commander Evelyn Hayes, a tall woman with a sharp gaze that radiated authority. She saluted crisply, her uniform immaculate despite the warm breeze that teased at her auburn hair. "Supreme Strategist Thrall," she said, her voice steady and formal. "On behalf of the United Earth Coalition, welcome to Nova Terra Military Academy." Thrall descended the ramp, his 6 fingers clasped behind his back in a gesture of diplomatic neutrality. His crystalline eyes flicked over the humans. Their physiques were unremarkable by galactic standards, bipedal, mammalian, and deceptively fragile. Yet there was an intensity in their expressions, a fire he could not ignore. "Commander Hayes," Thrall replied, his voice smooth and melodic, "the result of a species evolved for negotiation. It is an honor to witness your academy. The Zanari Collective values the exchange of knowledge and insights." Hayes gestured toward a towering structure in the distance, its spires reaching into the sky like jagged spears. "We've prepared a comprehensive tour of our training facilities. You'll find Nova Terra unique among galactic institutions. Humans excel in unconventional warfare and adaptive strategy." "Unconventional," Thrall repeated, his lips curling into what passed for a Zanari smile. "I look forward to seeing how that manifests." As they walked, Hayes offered a running commentary. The academy grounds sprawled across miles of rugged terrain, its layout designed for grueling physical trials. Cadets jogged in perfect formation along paths that twisted through dense forests and steep hills. Others sparred in open fields, their shouts echoing in the air. Thrall's gaze lingered on a group scaling a sheer rock wall. No harnesses, no safety nets, only bare hands and determination. He tilted his head. "You permit such recklessness in basic training?" Hayes didn't break stride. "We encourage it. Survival in the field requires overcoming fear and trusting in your own capabilities. Comfort breeds complacency." Her words made sense, but they also unsettled him. The Zanari trained their soldiers to avoid unnecessary risk, valuing efficiency over brute perseverance. Watching the cadets endure self-imposed hardship, he couldn't decide if it was madness or genius. They approached an open field where a group of cadets stood in formation. At Hayes' nod, the instructor barked an order, and the group scattered into pre-assigned roles. What followed was an elaborate simulation of urban combat, complete with holographic enemies and shifting terrain. Thrall observed in silence. The cadets moved with a chaotic precision that defied logic, adapting to the changing battlefield in ways that seemed almost instinctual. "Your soldiers lack cohesion," he remarked, his tone measured. Hayes smirked. "They lack rigidity. Adaptability is our strength." The simulation ended with the cadets victorious. Thrall couldn't deny their effectiveness, even if their methods were unconventional. He turned to Hayes. "And you believe this flexibility will suffice against a disciplined enemy?" Her smirk deepened. "Why don't we show you?" Before he could respond, the instructor called for a volunteer. A cadet stepped forward, a young man with a determined jawline and eyes that burned with something Thrall couldn't quite name. "This is Alex Carter," Hayes said. "He'll demonstrate what humans are truly capable of." Thrall watched as Carter entered a training module labeled Extreme Conditions Simulator. The door sealed shut, and a countdown began. Whatever horrors lay inside, Carter's face betrayed no fear. As the simulation started, Thrall's unease grew. For the first time in his career, he wondered if he had underestimated a species. The screams began seconds later. The screams didn't stop. They only changed. Thrall stood rigid as the control room displayed the interior of the extreme conditions simulator. The holographic feed projected a visceral scene, Alex Carter maneuvering through a chaotic environment filled with shifting hazards, collapsing walls, simulated explosions, and mechanical drones firing stun rounds. The cadets' movements were deliberate yet fluid, every decision a balance between survival and mission objectives. What struck Thrall most was Carter's endurance. Each stun round he took caused visible pain, shocks that would have incapacitated most Zanari soldiers, but Carter pressed forward without hesitation. Beside him, Commander Hayes observed with a calm confidence that bordered on unnerving. "You're watching a condensed version of our resilience training," she explained. "It's designed to test physical thresholds, mental fortitude, and decision-making under pressure." Thrall's crystalline eyes narrowed. "Is there a point where the exercise ends? Or do you simply push them until they collapse?" Hayes smirked. "We push until they adapt, or fail. Either way, they learn." Inside the simulation, Carter reached a narrow corridor lined with drones. They fired relentlessly, forcing him to dive for cover behind a crumbling wall. His breathing was labored, his uniform damp with sweat. Yet, when the opportunity presented itself, he surged forward, disarming a drone with a single, decisive move before using its weapon to destroy the rest. Thrall leaned closer to the feed, analyzing every detail. He is operating beyond his natural limits. Your training defies logical thresholds for most biological species. That's humanity for you, Hayes said, folding her arms. We've had to outlast extinction more times than we care to count. Physical endurance is only part of it. The real training is here. She tapped her temple. Thrall considered her words. The Zanari trained their soldiers to optimize performance within calculated limits, avoiding unnecessary strain that might lead to long-term degradation. The humans, by contrast, seemed to embrace suffering as a crucible for growth. It was both baffling and impressive. The simulation finally ended with Carter slumped against the wall, chest heaving. The instructor's voice crackled through the speakers. "Simulation complete. Cadet Carter, report to debriefing." The young man staggered to his feet, his face pale but resolute. He saluted the holographic panel before exiting the simulator. Thrall turned to Hayes. "He succeeded, but he is clearly compromised. How long until he recovers?" "Fully? A few hours," Hayes replied. "But he'll be back in the field long before that. Humans have an exceptional ability to recover from trauma, both physical and psychological. It's a survival trait. An impressive one," Thrall admitted reluctantly. Hayes gestured for him to follow as they left the control room. She led him to an outdoor training area where other cadets were engaged in various endurance exercises. Some ran obstacle courses under heavy weights, others stood in ice baths, their faces a mix of pain and focus. "Everything we do here is about preparing for the unknown," Hayes explained. "In galactic conflicts, you can't rely on predictability. We train our soldiers to adapt, to endure, and to overcome no matter what the universe throws at them." Thrall paused, observing a cadet falter during a grueling climb. Instead of giving up, the young woman gritted her teeth and resumed her ascent, even as her hands bled against the rough surface. "You place extraordinary value on persistence," Thrall said, his tone laced with curiosity. "Even when it risks long-term damage. Do you not fear losing more than you gain?" Hayes shook her head. "Persistence isn't optional for us. It's why we're still here. Humanity didn't survive Earth's ice ages, plagues, and wars by staying in its comfort zone. Pain is temporary. Victory lasts." The Zanari strategist fell silent. He had studied countless species, analyzing their strengths and weaknesses. Yet here, among these humans, he sensed something different, something primal and unyielding. As they moved toward another training site, Hayes gestured to a group of cadets performing a team drill. "If you think Carter's endurance was impressive, wait until you see this." The exercise involved a simulated rescue mission under live-fire conditions. The cadets moved as a unit, carrying a weighted stretcher while avoiding a hail of stun rounds. Each hit meant a penalty, additional obstacles, or heavier loads. Thrall watched, intrigued. The team operated with seamless coordination, their movements precise yet adaptable. When a cadet fell, another immediately took their place, lifting the stretcher without hesitation. "This is where humans excel," Hayes said. "Not as individuals, but as a collective. We thrive under pressure because we trust each other to carry the load." The drill ended with the cadets reaching the finish line, battered but triumphant. They collapsed in a heap, laughing despite their exhaustion. Thrall found himself strangely unsettled. He had come to Earth to catalog human weaknesses, but the more he saw, the more he realized their strengths were rooted in what he had overlooked, their capacity to endure, adapt, and work together. As Hayes turned to him, her expression unreadable, Thrall felt the first stirrings of doubt. "We're just getting started, strategist," she said. "This is the foundation. The real challenges are still ahead." For the first time in decades, Thrall wondered if he had underestimated his mission. Humans weren't just survivors, they were something far more dangerous. "Your tactics are unorthodox." Thrall's voice carried a thin veneer of composure as he observed the holographic battlefield. The human cadets had been thrust into an urban combat simulation against AI-controlled drones programmed with advanced Zanari military strategies. To Thrall's astonishment, the humans were winning. The cadets moved through the crumbling holographic city like a living organism, improvising, adapting, and exploiting weaknesses in ways that defied conventional logic. When one strategy failed, they pivoted without hesitation. Where Thrall would have ordered a retreat, the humans pressed forward, turning chaos into opportunity. Beside him, Commander Hayes stood with her arms crossed, her expression faintly amused. "Unorthodox is a polite way to put it," she said. "We prefer to call it adaptive warfare." Thrall's crystalline eyes remained fixed on the simulation. "Your cadets take unnecessary risks. One wrong calculation could result in total failure." "True," Hayes replied, her tone maddeningly calm. "But when they calculate correctly, the results speak for themselves." As if on cue, the lead cadet, Alex Carter, emerged from cover and sprinted across open ground toward an enemy stronghold. The holographic drones adjusted, targeting him with precision fire. It was a move that should have been suicidal. Instead, it was a feint. Carter's team used the distraction to flank the drones, launching a coordinated attack that neutralized the stronghold within seconds. By the time the drones recalibrated, the humans had already secured the position. Thrall tilted his head, his expression unreadable. He disregarded his own safety to draw enemy fire. That level of recklessness would be punished in Zanari forces. "And here, it's rewarded," Hayes said. Carter knew his team would capitalize on the distraction. It wasn't about him, it was about the mission. The simulation concluded with a triumphant cheer from the cadets. The holograms faded, revealing the training room's stark interior. Carter and his team stood at attention, their faces flushed with exertion but alight with satisfaction. Thrall turned to Hayes. Their success was impressive, but such tactics are inherently unstable. How do you account for the risk? Hayes smirked. We don't eliminate risk, we manage it. Our philosophy is simple, the battlefield is unpredictable. You can either adapt, or you can die. The words lingered in the air, unsettling Thrall in ways he hadn't anticipated. He had been raised in the Zanari doctrine of precision and predictability, where every move was calculated and every variable controlled. To see humans thrive in chaos was a disconcerting revelation. Hayes gestured for Thrall to follow her as they descended into another section of the academy. This time, the training environment was a dense forest simulation, complete with simulated predators, environmental hazards, and hostile forces. This is our survival scenario, Hayes explained. The cadets are dropped in with minimal supplies and tasked with surviving for 72 hours while completing objectives. No reinforcements, no backup. Thrall raised a ridged brow. And what is the failure rate for such a trial? High, Hayes admitted. But failure is part of the process. They learn more from one bad mission than they ever could in a classroom. The holographic display activated, showing Carter's team navigating the dense forest. They moved with practiced efficiency, using their environment to mask their presence and set traps for their pursuers. Thrall studied their tactics, noting how they worked in perfect synchronization despite the unpredictable terrain. When a simulated predator lunged at the group, Carter reacted instantly, drawing its attention and leading it into a carefully prepared ambush. He understands the value of sacrifice, Thrall murmured. Hayes nodded. It's not about individual glory. It's about the team. That's what sets us apart. As the scenario progressed, Thrall's unease deepened. The cadets' ability to adapt, endure, and cooperate was unlike anything he had encountered. They didn't just survive, they thrived under pressure, turning adversity into an advantage. When the simulation ended, Carter's team emerged battered but victorious. Their uniforms were torn, their faces streaked with dirt, but their eyes shone with a fierce determination that Thrall could not ignore. Hayes turned to him, her expression unreadable. You came here to study us, strategist. What have you learned so far? Thrall hesitated. For the first time in his long career, he found himself at a loss for words. I have learned, he said finally, that humans are not constrained by the rules that govern other species. You create your own rules as you go. Hayes smiled faintly. Exactly. And that's why you'll never see us coming. As they exited the training facility, Thrall felt a gnawing sense of unease. He had come to Earth to uncover humanity's weaknesses. Instead, he was beginning to suspect that their greatest strength was their refusal to accept limits, an adaptability that made them as dangerous as they were unpredictable. For the first time, he wondered if the Zanari had made a mistake in underestimating humanity. The room was quiet, save for the hum of the holoprojector and the faint tapping of Thrall's claws against the armrest of his chair. The Zanari strategist had seen many things in his lifetime, but what the humans called their history lesson was something else entirely. Images flickered on the screen, endless battlefields, craters that once held cities, and skies choked with ash. The timeline spanned millennia, documenting humanity's long and violent ascent. This, said Commander Hayes, her voice steady, is what shaped us. Thrall glanced at her, his crystalline eyes narrowing. You take pride in this? The sheer level of destruction is unprecedented. Even the most warlike species in the galaxy would find this excessive. Hayes didn't flinch. It's not pride. It's acknowledgement. Humanity's history isn't pretty, but it's ours. Every scar, every mistake, it's part of who we are. The holoprojector zoomed in on a particular image, the aftermath of the Second Global Conflict, a period Hayes explained as World War II. Thrall leaned forward as the narration detailed the nuclear devastation of two cities, the chilling toll of lives lost, and the sobering realization that humanity had created weapons capable of extinguishing their own species. And yet, Hayes continued, it was that moment that forced us to confront the consequences of our actions. We learned restraint, not because we wanted to, but because we had to. Thrall's voice was tight. Your species danced on the edge of extinction, and survived through sheer luck. Not luck, Hayes corrected. Resilience. Adaptation. That's the difference. The holoprojectors shifted to more recent events, images of famine, plagues, environmental disasters, and wars. Each crisis seemed insurmountable, yet humanity endured. The narration highlighted their ingenuity, innovations born of desperation, alliances forged from necessity, and victories claimed at great cost. You are a species defined by struggle, Thrall observed. Each hardship has shaped you, honed you. But it is unsustainable. How long can you survive like this? Hayes smiled faintly, a hint of challenge in her eyes. As long as we need to. Struggle isn't something we fear, it's something we embrace. Every time the universe tries to break us, we come back stronger. Thrall leaned back in his chair, his claws clicking softly against the armrest. He wasn't sure if her words were inspiring or terrifying. Perhaps both. The lesson continued, delving into humanity's exploration of space. Thrall watched as images of fragile early spacecraft appeared, their designs primitive compared to the sleek vessels of the Zanari. Yet those same vessels had carried humans beyond their world, defying the odds with ingenuity and determination. The holoprojector paused on a recording of a famous speech by a long-dead human leader. We choose to go to the moon, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Thrall tilted his head. This philosophy of yours, seeking challenges rather than avoiding them, it defies logic. It's not about logic, Hayes replied. It's about growth. We don't advance by staying comfortable. We take risks, even when they scare us. The lesson concluded with a montage of humanity's greatest achievements: the eradication of ancient diseases, the creation of global alliances, the first colony on Mars. But woven into the triumphs were moments of heartbreak, the loss of countless lives, the near collapse of civilizations. When the holoprojector dimmed, Thrall sat in silence. His mind churned with conflicting thoughts. The Zanari prized order, precision, and calculated progress. Humanity, by contrast, thrived in chaos, adapting to challenges that should have destroyed them. Hayes broke the silence. You came here to understand us, strategist. Tell me, what have you learned? Thrall met her gaze. I have learned that humanity is unlike any species I have encountered. Your history is a testament to your resilience, but it also reveals a capacity for destruction that is alarming. Hayes nodded. True. But that capacity is what keeps us alive. When pushed to the brink, we don't just survive, we evolve. Her words hung in the air as they left the briefing room. Outside, cadets were gathered in the Academy's central courtyard, preparing for the next training exercise. Thrall's gaze lingered on them, his thoughts heavy. These cadets, he said finally, carry the weight of that history. It shapes them. It does, Hayes agreed. And it prepares them for what's out there. Thrall studied the young faces in the crowd. There was something in their expressions, a quiet determination, a defiance that refused to be extinguished. For the first time, he felt a twinge of unease. The Zanari had long considered humans an enigma, a species to be observed but not feared. Now, he wasn't so sure. Commander Hayes, he said, his voice low, your people's potential is unsettling. She smiled, a sharp, knowing grin. Good. It should be. As Thrall turned to leave, he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone in the galaxy had realized. They weren't just survivors, they were architects of their own evolution, sculpted by fire and chaos. And in their eyes, he saw the unyielding resolve of a species that would not be stopped. The cadets stood in silence, their faces grim under the pale glow of the holodisplay. The graduation challenge had been revealed, and even the most seasoned among them showed signs of unease. Thrall's gaze swept over the crowd, studying their reactions. These humans, these fledgling warriors, were about to face a trial that would determine their readiness for the galaxy's chaos. He found himself wondering if even they had limits. Commander Hayes stepped forward, her voice cutting through the tension. This isn't just a test of skill. It's a test of everything we've taught you: teamwork, adaptability, and resilience. Fail here, and you fail humanity. Succeed, and you'll prove what it means to be part of the United Earth Coalition. The cadets saluted in unison, their movements sharp despite the weight of her words. Thrall could see it in their eyes, fear tempered by resolve. He leaned closer to Hayes. What exactly does this challenge entail? You'll see, she replied, her tone guarded. The room darkened as the challenge began. A massive holographic dome flickered to life, enveloping the cadets in a simulated battlefield. It was a composite of the galaxy's most hostile environments: burning deserts, frozen wastelands, toxic swamps, all fused into a single, nightmarish terrain. At the center of it all stood the objective, a beacon representing an Allied outpost under siege. The cadets were tasked with reaching the beacon, neutralizing the enemy forces, and securing the area. The twist? The enemy forces were modeled after Zanari soldiers, complete with their advanced tactics and technology. Thrall's eyes narrowed. You're using Zanari battle doctrines against them? Hayes nodded. If they can handle you, they can handle anyone. The cadets moved as a single unit, their training evident in every step. Carter led the charge, his voice steady as he issued commands. The simulation was merciless. Drones rained fire from above, holographic soldiers flanked their position, and environmental hazards threatened to scatter their ranks. But the cadets adapted. When a drone strike forced them into a ravine, they used the narrow terrain to funnel their enemies into a trap. When one of their own was wounded, the others divided their roles seamlessly, providing cover while ensuring the mission continued. They're improvising, Thrall observed. Your scenario changes too rapidly for pre-planned tactics to succeed. That's the point, Hayes replied. The battlefield is never predictable. We don't train our soldiers to memorize strategies, we train them to create their own. As the challenge escalated, Thrall found himself both impressed and disturbed. The cadets didn't just adapt, they thrived in the chaos. They exploited weaknesses the simulation hadn't anticipated, turning the Zanari-inspired tactics against their creators. At one point, Carter ordered a seemingly reckless maneuver, splitting the team to draw enemy forces away from the objective. It was a dangerous gamble, one that risked catastrophic failure. Your cadet is taking an unnecessary risk, Thrall said, his voice sharp. Hayes didn't look away from the simulation. He's betting everything on trust. Let's see if it pays off. The split team executed a series of precision strikes, dismantling the enemy's flanking units while the main group advanced toward the beacon. The cadets worked with unspoken coordination, their movements an intricate dance of attack and retreat. When they reached the beacon, the simulation threw its final curveball, an overwhelming enemy force descending from all sides. The cadets didn't falter. Carter rallied his team, using the terrain to create choke points and force the enemy into disadvantageous positions. The fight was brutal, every cadet pushed to their limits, but they refused to give ground. When the final enemy fell, the beacon activated, bathing the battlefield in a triumphant glow. The simulation ended, and the room erupted into applause. Thrall remained silent, his thoughts racing. He had expected the cadets to struggle, perhaps even fail. Instead, they had demonstrated a level of ingenuity and perseverance that defied reason. Hayes turned to him, her expression unreadable. Well? What do you think? Thrall hesitated. For a Zanari strategist, admitting admiration for another species was unthinkable. But as he looked at the exhausted cadets, their faces shining with pride despite their injuries, he couldn't deny the truth. They are formidable, he said finally. Hayes smirked. That's one way to put it. The cadets began to disperse, their voices filled with quiet celebration. Carter, still catching his breath, approached Hayes and saluted. We're ready, he said simply. Hayes clapped him on the shoulder. You've proven that today. As Thrall watched, he felt a pang of unease. These humans weren't just survivors, they were innovators, risk-takers, and warriors forged in adversity. He had come to Earth to uncover their secrets, but now, he wasn't sure the galaxy was ready for what humanity could become. And for the first time in his career, he wondered if the Zanari were prepared to face them. Supreme Strategist Thrall sat in the observation lounge of his starship, staring out at Earth's blue and green surface. The silence of space was a stark contrast to the cacophony he had witnessed at Nova Terra Military Academy. For the first time in decades, his mind was not on strategy or war, it was on survival. The Zanari envoy's diplomatic mission was officially complete. He had toured the academy, observed their methods, and studied their warriors. The humans had offered everything he'd requested, their openness both disarming and unnerving. Now, as the ship prepared to leave orbit, he was left to grapple with what he had seen. Thrall's contemplation was interrupted by a soft chime. The door slid open to reveal Commander Evelyn Hayes. She stepped into the lounge with the casual confidence of someone who knew exactly where she stood. Commander Hayes, Thrall said, rising from his seat. To what do I owe the pleasure? She gestured to the seat opposite him. Thought I'd check in before you leave. See if your perspective on humanity has evolved. Thrall sat, folding his six-fingered hands in his lap. It has been enlightening, he admitted carefully. Your academy, your cadets, they are impressive in ways I had not anticipated. Hayes leaned back, her piercing gaze unwavering. Impressive enough to make you reconsider how the Zanari view us. Thrall hesitated. Honesty was a delicate tool in diplomacy, but he sensed that evasion would only insult her. The Zanari have always regarded humanity as a curious anomaly, resourceful, but undisciplined. After what I've seen, I believe that assessment is incomplete. Hayes smirked. Incomplete is one way to put it. He frowned. Your cadets demonstrate extraordinary resilience and adaptability, yet your methods are unorthodox, even reckless. Do you not fear the consequences of pushing your people so far? We don't fear it, Hayes said. We embrace it. Pushing limits is how we grow. The galaxy isn't going to hand us anything, strategist. We'll take our place in it by earning it, painfully, if necessary. Thrall studied her, searching for any sign of doubt or bravado. He found none. Instead, he saw the same unyielding determination that had defined every human he had encountered. I must admit, he said slowly, your people's history troubles me. You seem to thrive on conflict, even when it risks your own annihilation. How can a species that dances so close to destruction survive in the long term? Hayes leaned forward, her tone soft but firm. Because we don't stop. It's that simple. Every time we fall, we get back up. Every time the odds are stacked against us, we find a way. That's what makes us dangerous, strategist. Not our weapons or our numbers. It's our refusal to quit. Thrall considered her words. He had seen that tenacity firsthand, and the cadets enduring grueling trials, and Alex Carter's audacious leadership, and the scars etched into humanity's history. It wasn't just survival, it was defiance. I will admit, Thrall said, his voice thoughtful, I underestimated your species. The Zanari have always valued precision, calculation, and order. Your approach is chaotic, unpredictable, and effective. Hayes' smirk returned. You're not the first to underestimate us. And you won't be the last. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of unspoken truths hanging between them. Finally, Thrall rose, signaling the end of their conversation. Thank you, Commander, he said, his tone formal. This experience has been invaluable. Hayes stood as well, offering a handshake. Safe travels, strategist. And if you ever find yourself underestimating us again, her grip tightened slightly, her smile sharp. Just remember what you saw here. Thrall nodded, his expression unreadable. I will. As she left, Thrall turned back to the observation window. Earth hung in the void, deceptively serene. He activated his communicator, his voice steady as he addressed the Zanari High Council. Report from Supreme Strategist Thrall. My observations of humanity are complete. I strongly advise caution in all future dealings with this species. A pause. They possess a capacity for growth and adaptation that is unprecedented. They are not to be underestimated. They are a force of nature. Another pause. His tone grew colder, more clinical. Should the Zanari ever consider them a threat, we must act swiftly. Yet I fear that even with our advantage, we may not prevail. Humanity thrives in adversity. To defeat them, one must first understand the cost of such a victory. He ended the transmission and sank into his seat, staring out at the planet below. For the first time in his storied career, he felt the stirrings of doubt, not about humanity, but about the galaxy's ability to withstand them. As the ship's engines roared to life, Thrall whispered a thought he dared not share aloud. Perhaps it is not humanity who should fear the galaxy, but the galaxy that should fear humanity.